My name is Joseph Figueroa, and I identify as a depressed gay Mexican. Growing up as a kid, I was raised in a very macho Hispanic family. My dad's a hunter, he fixes cars, he was a truck driver, like kind of dude where he gets a gash on his arm and throws dirt on it instead of cleaning it up. And that's the kind of lifestyle that I was raised with. So there's so many moments in my life where I was made to feel uncomfortable by doing certain things, being a child wearing an oversized shirt because it's like your sleep shirt, and the shirt goes down to the floor. It's like your dad's extra large, but then you're watching 5 Goes West and you see the girls move their dresses and then you move the shirt like that and then your mom and your dad are like, whoa, what are you doing? No, you need to stop that. And then you're like, what? But I'm having fun, I'm dancing with the characters on the TV, what? And there's a ton of those throughout my life where it's dad talks to me, he's like, hey, stop holding your hands like this. Or, hey, why do you have so many girlfriends? Why do you only have female friends? Why don't you join a sport? After I came out, my dad didn't speak for 2 weeks. And that in itself was a huge moment of me kind of reflecting on wait a minute, is it okay for me to be who I am? Am I doing something wrong? Because I'm not getting the kind of love and support that I thought I would from people who I really need it from. And basically didn't have a really good relationship growing up with my dad because of all this gay stuff. And then finally I come out and I'm owning who I am and he shuts me off from his world. So after those 2 weeks of him not talking, he started researching straight camps and stuff like that, yes. But I was already over 18 at that point, I was 20. So nothing really he could do to that, to make me do anything like that, but it was just huge negativity to hear your father wanting to change who you are, your father believing that it's a choice, that I'm choosing to be this way, which, is so silly because no one would choose to go through the hardships that we go through. I feel like every gay person would never choose it, but they're always grateful for it because they're stronger now than they were before. Growing up in Arizona, there's been a lot of hiding when it comes to being gay. You don't want anyone to know exactly where you're coming from, who you are, because Arizona is a very scary place. There's a lot of scary people out here who are in power, who still believe in their ways and are very set in their ways. So for example, when I was growing up, and this was even before I knew what gay was, someone had wrote Joseph David Figueroa is gay on one of our parking cross signs. And it took me about 2 weeks as a 6th grader talking to the principal to get it removed. And that in itself just kind of speaks to how far behind we are when it comes to respecting people that deserve to be respected because they're just being who they are. Arizona is so full of people who are trying to stick with their boundaries, stick with what they know, and homosexuality and the LGBTQ+ community has been around forever. And I think that's one of the things that when it comes to Arizona is that they're just so closed-minded. And it's so hard for them to even at this point realize it's almost like a mistake that they made where they know they made the mistake, but they just don't want to admit to it. We've been around forever and the gay community is huge in Arizona, even though it looks like it's not. But I feel like Arizona's just so set in their ways and they're so afraid of admitting to being wrong, admitting to owing respect to these people that's why it's not talked about. So the first time I truly vocalized my identity was probably, I think I was 20 at the time, so 9 years ago. I was a sales lead at Levi's, just kind of running the floor at the time, and it was a very slow day. We had a grandmother, and I remember this moment so specifically. We have a granddaughter, a grandma and a granddaughter shopping for new clothes for school, and then these 2 gentlemen walk in who, are very rude and loud, and saying a lot of bad words really loud. And I kind of see the old lady give them a dirty look and feel that air of uncomfortable. So I'm like, I'm gonna go and walk over and talk to these guys. So I walk over and say, hey, can you guys please kind of keep it down or not use foul language in this store? We have a family member in here, it's just a family store. Well, the 2 gentlemen ended up basically verbally attacking me. And one of his friends was like, oh, you're nothing but a faggot. You're just a faggot. And then his friend kept glaring at me and they just kept bouncing back and forth different slurs that, obviously no one wants to hear, really. And it was a very heated moment because they just kept yelling at me, "Oh, you're just a faggot. You just want to get out of the store, you stupid faggot." And I didn't really have anything to say. I just stood there. Normally I would have something smartass, something sassy, something, to stand up for myself. But I was so polarized by that moment that I literally just didn't move. I just kind of stood there, and they eventually left. And one of my managers actually saw on camera what happened and came out to me, and she was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And she could see on my face that I literally was broken. So she was like, "You know what, like, why don't you just go take your 15 now and then like cool off?" And I was like, "All right, cool." So I went, took my 15, came back on the floor, and she was like, "You know what, we actually don't need you. So like go home, like take the day off. Like I know something bad happened." And I was like, "All right, cool." So on the way home, I kind of realized, amidst the crazy crying, because I think we all cry in our cars, amidst the crying that like, if I had owned who I was, those guys would have had no power over me. So it's like, if I respected myself enough to be like, yes, I'm a faggot, yes, I'm gay, like that is who I am, then I could have easily taken that conversation and turned it into something empowering. But instead, because I was still hiding it, that's why it was so polarizing. That's why I was like terrified and I couldn't move. So literally when I got home, I called my mom and told her I was gay. And she was very upset, only because she knew that something had been going on with me for like 4 years, and was like, "I don't know why you didn't tell me." But yeah, that was pretty much it. I owned my identity, and from that point on, there was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I didn't have to worry about that anymore, and definitely felt more empowered because it was me taking responsibility for myself, if that makes sense. Like, I'm owning who I am, and I'm gonna be proud of it. And of course, I mean, coming out, there was much more to the journey, and I don't think anyone's ever done with that journey, but definitely I'm at a good place right now where I respect and own who I am. Coming out was a huge defining moment for me. Owning who I was a huge defining moment for me. And I think it's definitely huge for everyone in the gay community. I feel like it's something that makes us special. Our coming out stories, our coming out processes, our closet lifestyle, it's all unique. And I think it's definitely something that makes us stronger and different from other people, in the sense that like we are forced into a moment of hardship, a cathartic moment of hardship where it's like, own who you are or continue to shirk those responsibilities. And I think that really changes people. I definitely feel like I do have to change myself to fit into several molds when it comes to society. Arizona having that straight mold, I feel like every gay guy has that straight voice where they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up, bro? Hey, what's up, dudes?" Like, gay culture is like having a straight voice, which is silly. But I also feel like I have to change myself a lot to fit into the gay molds as well. There's a lot of discrimination in the gay community where people, no fats, no Asian, no femmes, body hair, so many different things that, guys or people don't really think about. But when it comes to trying to fit into any community, perception is huge. It's important for representation in mainstream because we, as human beings, need to feel, we need to have positive reinforcement, and we need to feel representation. So it's not just gays, it's not just race, it's not just religion, it's literally people like need to see similar versions of themselves in media, in things, to feel more accepted, to feel more normal, to feel more grounded. Growing up, not seeing any gay representation, not seeing any kind of representation in TV, in media, in stories, in education, really kind of made me develop these feelings about, is gay okay? That's why I get nervous when I hold my boyfriend's hand, that kind of stuff. But I also kind of feel like not having representation made us find representation and find things that we really identified with. So, for example, growing up, I hugely identified with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like hugely. And it was because she was an outcast girl who was special and was trying to fucking make high school and life work. And that's what I connected with. I was like, oh my God, I'm special. I am different. And she's doing it, why can't I do it? And of course she had superpowers and she killed vampires and whatever, that made it all fun. But I kind of feel like we need more of that representation, you know, actual gay characters in TV where kids can, you know, latch onto something and be like, oh my gosh, like this is who I, and not only just so they can feel more grounded, but just so they can feel more open to express themselves. Because I feel like someone seeing, like growing up as a gay kid, if I saw someone incredibly talented being openly gay, I would have been so inspired, you know? And it's like, I mean, they may have been out there, but like I, growing up, wasn't privy to any of that, privy to that information, privy to that access. So yeah, we definitely need more representation in the media all over, where people need to be who they are and let people know that it's okay. I feel like right now we're kind of in that portion where half of us are so overzealously joyed for people displaying who they are, and then the other half are like upset. Both of those are wrong. I feel like we need to be at the spectrum where it's like, they are who they are, that's what they're doing, let them do it. So that's what I really hope for the future, is moments like that where you can be at a gym and see a girl working out in a hijab and not care, or see two dudes making out at the ice cream store and not care. That's what I hope for the future. So I feel like if I met younger me, ooh, we'd probably both slap each other really hard. But then after that was done, I would let him know that it is okay to be you, it is okay to daydream, to be gay, to be hairy, to be all those things that like have brought you so much negativity in your life and so much questioning. It's okay, don't worry about any of that. What you should worry about is scholarships or like getting a better job. Because I feel like a lot of times we waste so much time on focusing on negativity when it's really like, yeah, or you could have just dealt with it, owned it, and then moved on. So definitely I would tell younger me like, hey, don't worry about all this stuff that makes you the amazing you you're gonna be. Worry about building a lifestyle for that amazing you.
I'm going to give you all that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course. This was fun.